Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who is currently surrounded by 45 stuffed T-Rexes. It's David Cross.
What's going on, dude?
So, I'm surrounded by 45 stuffed T-Rexes too. Are you worried about evil entities, or do you just like stuffed T-Rexes?
I am constantly worried about evil entities. You know, I feel like I attract slasher horror villains, so I usually just stock up on my monsters, or excuse me, my totems, and I just like T-Rexes. Like, are you worried, or do you have 40 of them? I
love T-Rexes.
You just love T-Rexes.
Yeah, so I never write horror scripts, so I don't channel any evil. I know you're always hammering out like the bazooka monster of Bogtown, and you're writing down stuff like, the creature from the crevasse, and you're writing all these crazy horror short films, and you're just channeling them left and right. Remember when the booger fly attacked you? That was nuts.
Yeah, I'm really lucky I had a bat with a nail in it.
Yeah, I saw a video of you. I guess it went viral. You had a T-Rex under one arm, and then you're just swinging with a bat with a nail, just whapping this monster, man. It was impressive.
I'm glad it went viral. That's my goal in life. Just get 1 billion different views, and then I guess step 3 money.
I mean, listen, you're writing great scripts. You just keep channeling crazy monsters.
Yeah. I mean, joking aside, I write horror fiction. So I do that.
Uh-oh. Hey, can you write the Descent 2, but just make it real? Like, not forget the Descent 2 and just write a Descent 2 instead?
I could try, but here's the problem with that.
What?
Descent is a movie I love, and I'm never going to watch it again because I'm so terrified of it.
It's that movie. So that's all right. Listen, there's Rosemary's Baby out there. There's Psycho. There are amazing horror films. But Descent's my favorite horror film. It really is, hands down. So, yeah, wait, am I saying it's the best horror film? No. Am I saying it's my favorite? Yes. Yeah. I love it. Have you seen the documentaries about how they make, obviously that's all in studio. They're not spelunking and filming in caves. But the set design and the production design, and they hired actors to play the monsters, and just the urgency and blood and violence. I love Descent. Descent.
It's fantastic, but I had nightmares for months, and that is it's one of those horror movies in which I just can't watch again. And if I am going to watch again, it's probably going to be another 5 years before I do it. It's that and Hereditary. They're just too disturbing to me. They hit too many of my nightmare buttons. I love them, but I can't do it again. So if I have to do Descent 2, I'm going to just base it off of my fuzzy memories of the original Descent. And I'm like, I don't know who the main character is. I know it was a woman who survived, so I guess her name's
Well, Juno could have still made it, right? Even though she got stabbed in the leg.
Yeah.
I got introduced to that movie. My friend Zach, who was just on our favorite horror of the 2010s, really good list. It's gotten universal praise, which has bothered me because that never happens. But he introduced me to the movie, and the way he introduced it was, hey, Mark, I watched this movie, and it scared me so much I peed a little. And so I kind of went, what? And then I watched it, and he kind of wrecked it, because I think he was looking at me during that scene, and I think he was waiting for me to jump. And even though I knew he was waiting for me to jump, I still jumped sky high when you first see that crawler. Oof.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a movie you're going to have to eventually do on this podcast if we're talking it up that much.
That's the problem with it, though, is because like that movie Goon and Descent, I love them so much. I don't know how to talk about them. This was great, and then, you know what I mean? It would be a gush fest. Does that make sense?
I do. I absolutely understand that. I'm trying to think of one I would have a similar reaction to.
If I do best
Scream.
Horror of the two, oh, there we go. That's why
I love Scream. I would not be able to make my way through Scream without being like, and this happened here? Oh, bad boy!
Hey, that's why we're talking about Scream 4 next.
Scream 4, or where I know we're on the cusp of this for Halloween, Ernest.
Oh,
or the Ernest movie, Ernest Scared Stupid.
Yep. We need to do Ernest Scared Stupid for Halloween. Then we'll do Scream 4.
Yeah,
That's not
that sounds
anywhere.
good.
All right, and so we're talking about Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and I think so the whole trilogy, right? Not the trilogy. So the whole series, I think this is the second best Nose film. That I like this more than the Dream Master, Dream Warriors. The Dreamcatcher. No, that's that one movie with the eyebrows with Morgan
Stephen
Freeman.
King's movie.
Yeah. So I love this movie, but it's also the lowest. I mean, 78% Rotten Tomato score, which is the highest for like the 7th movie in a series ever. Because I've written a lot about horror franchises for Rotten Tomatoes. Mm-hmm. That never happens. The interesting thing though is that it's not unbelievable that it's also adjusted for inflation according to Box Office Mojo. It has made the least amount of money, which makes sense.
Oh yeah. I could, this feels like a movie for people who like film and people who like horror, and you have to know those things. And it is honestly a huge deviation from, I guess, the first six. I mean, that would be five sequels. So like it relates most to the first film, but even then, like it's not quite.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, and I've always been sort of fascinated by it. And I remember years ago I wrote about some of the most important movies of 1994, and I believe this is one of them because indirectly, directly, it inspired Scream, and that kicked off a whole new era. It's just so meta. It deals with the filmmakers talking about the horror movie, the 10-year reunion, the fans who love a serial killer, pedophile in the movie, pretty much. And it's just a really interesting beast. And when we were kind of chatting back and forth, we tried to save everything for the podcast, but you said you were having trouble sort of understanding this movie?
Yeah. So I guess we should get this out of the way. I'm a huge fan of Freddy, and of that whole slasher genre. There's Jason, there's Freddy, there's Michael Myers. Freddy is the one that I associate with the most. That he's the one that I dressed up as for Halloween. I remember seeing Freddy's Dead when I was 8 years old, I believe. I could have been younger, at opening weekend at like a midnight show.
Wow.
My parents, they probably shouldn't have let me do that, to be honest. But I associate with him the most.
Wow.
But and that's why I wanted to do this film, because I also like Scream. So I was like, this combines like metafiction. This combines my love for Freddy into one thing. But to get to your question, like, is this a difficult film to digest? Like, I absolutely think it is, because I am never quite sure of what the theme of the movie is. Even after watching director's commentary, I felt like Wes Craven was like, this is the theme, this is the theme. He gave us like 4 different things we can choose from. So I had a hard time getting into it.
Yeah, he was being cagey on the director's commentary.
Super cagey, yeah.
He said some fun, like, I like some of the facts that he dropped about the movie. I thought there was some really neat stuff about the eels. That's kind of a funny story. But I guess for me is all right. So I guess, do you want to talk about in the movie what Wes Craven is saying about this? So he's writing this script, and when he's talking to Langenkamp, and he's like, I dream a scene at night, and he's like, there's an entity. It's very old. It's existed in different forms and different times. The murder of innocence. Nightmare in progress. Can be captured like by storytellers, good enough to catch its essence. So right there, he's talking about himself. So he's basically saying, I am a storyteller who caught this essence of this creature. And however, I held it prisoner because it was under my control. So when it's under Wes's control, that's a good thing. But he's like, it was set free when, it becomes too familiar, which Freddy became very familiar. Or when it's watered down, which he feels like the Freddy franchise was, or when the story dies. So, it's like it's upsetting to society. He's like, evil is set free. So he's like, the current version, it's been held for 10 years in captivity, and the films have ended. The genie's out of the bottle. So it's trying to cross over into reality. So, and then he has to kill her to get out to the real world. And Nancy has to destroy it because she's the original one who defeated it. So I feel like Wes Craven's saying he made it. All these sequels watered it down. Now he's here to destroy it.
And I would say, even taking a step farther back, I think his philosophy, and I'm putting words in his mouth, but what I think he was trying to say with this is that if we as a society want to overcome our fears and our nightmares, we have to address them. And you address them by watching them on film. However, the longer that Freddy was around, the less of a nightmare he was, and the more of a pop culture icon he was. And thus, we were no longer confronting our nightmares. We were confronting a whole different thing, and we forgot that Freddy is essentially a terrifying entity.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took a while. I had to watch a director's comedy to put that together.
And then, he's become this kind of joke machine. So in the beginning, he's just horrifying, murderous thing that represents nightmares. and then he becomes like a catchline killer where you cheer for the murder. So it's no longer catharsis, right? It's more about bloodlust.
Yeah, he becomes the protagonist of the films, definitely. And I think I felt trapped to that as a kid. I was really excited. I was like, yeah, Freddy's going to kill these things, or he's going to do all these things. I guess we should get into that, though. Like, do we think that's a good or bad thing? Like, I don't want to really rip on the idea of Freddy being this jokester, because he is a jokester, and that's sort of fun to watch. But it also feels like there's two different types of Freddy. There is the serious one from Nightmare 1 and Nightmare 3, and then there is the jokey quipster one from Dream Master going forward, who's no longer really, I don't find him terrifying. I find him humorous. I find him like an entertainer.
So I think that's just the way these franchises work. Is, the first one, it's a sadistic and cruel mom. And Friday the 13th. It's a sadistic, cruel mom who wants revenge. And, you bullied my son and this. And then Jason becomes an unstoppable killing machine and less scary, more about the kills. And so then you have Freddy, who's terrifying, but then he becomes, full of quips. And then you have Michael Myers, who's part of a cult, who's like a cat who drives long distances. So I think the watering down of villains is natural in our like the horror landscape. I think it's just bound to happen when the movies get further, because you can't have Freddy Krueger being the same Freddy Krueger every movie. Does that make sense?
Yeah, he has to have a storyline. He has to adapt and change.
Yeah, and so and that also made money, and money talks with this.
Yeah, that's true.
Merchandising.
This series like basically caused, or is one of the causes for, is it Freddy vs. Jason to be held back? Because they were like, Wes has a new idea, so we're going to let him do it.
Yeah, and I think I'm glad that he got to do it. I'm glad that he got to come back in and make this movie. Even though it wasn't that successful, you look back at it now, and I think it has really interesting things to say about movies. And I also think that, to a certain extent, Rex is Wes as well. I felt like Wes was the one protecting audiences from Freddy.
Yeah.
And he was the thing, and then they let him loose on audiences, and it became a whole different beast.
So I agree with that, but I want to really dig deep into Rex. This is going to be a weird hot take, or I guess for a movie that's 20-something years old, a lukewarm take. Rex is my favorite character.
Yeah, man. Nico or Dylan really, they're buds. And when Rex got teared apart and when Rex had those scratches, like, Rex was real to me, man. Rex was putting up a big old fight. And that picture of the teddy bear saving the kid? Like, there's a picture that The Rock was supposed to be in, or Dwayne Johnson was supposed to be in a movie where this teddy bear is defending a child while they slept. That was Rex in 94. Yeah. Like, he's fighting a demonic entity. I love it.
When Rex was killed off screen, like, in my mind for like half a second, I had an entire visual of the fight between Freddy and a T-Rex. And I was like, this is the movie I want. Why did you rob this from me, Wes Craven? Put this in the film.
Yeah. Rex is so cool, man. And I don't know, when he got tore up, he got fixed. I don't know. Do you think Rex was putting in work, or do you think that was in Dylan's head?
I think Rex was putting in work, and that he was drawing energy from Dylan. That's my shit. Like Dylan put up a fight against Freddy through his like mental capability of summoning Rex, and then lost.
If you think about it too, this also could think, if you think it's about Wes, right? So this entire movie, the dad ignores that his fingers are cut after dreaming it, then he dies, and then the mom, Heather, she's running around while he's in the hospital. And she doesn't bring him Rex. Like, he wants Rex, and Rex never shows up. So I also felt like that was Wes too. But I just was like, get Rex! Have you ever yelled that during a horror film? Like, go grab the toy stuffed dinosaur right now.
No, but I did have that moment of like, I did audibly gasp, like, oh no! And it's crazy because like we're talking, like, this character has lines. It's just a stuffed animal that he like talks about a couple times, and then basically runs across a freeway to get to.
Rex, man, I feel. And then Rex got beat up because Dylan wasn't there.
Yeah.
That
it was hard.
I hate that.
I had more